This is Steven Diego, and you're tuned in to Breaking Down the Breakdown. On today's episode, we have Aaron talking about how he was able to let go in the midst of his anxious attachment. Hello everyone, today is a very, very special episode because as you can see for those of you who can't see because you're not on the YouTube stuff or wherever else I am showing this right now with video, I do have a guest with me today, but welcome in guys to Breaking Down the Breakdown. This is Steven Diego and I am joined here by our super awesome friend. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. My name is a.arrronn. I'm from California, and I've on the podcast today with Steven to talk about mental health awareness.
I love it. Honestly, we were just talking about it earlier, and I was saying how it's been very hard to kind of get guests that would be comfortable talking about, kind of the more serious, the more dire stuff that they're going through, because it is very personal, right? And for every conversation that a person has, especially live and on podcast, it's a piece of their soul being bared out into the world. And I do not envy that. So, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this. You are a brave soul. But tell me and the entire world, tell us a little bit more about yourself. So because not a lot of people have, everybody's experienced some sort of, I don't want to say mental health disorder, but there's always been a point in people's lives where they've been exposed to, either themselves or somebody else having or going through a mental health episode, right? A mental health related episode. So what kind of opened you up to this entire world of mental health?
I think it has to do a lot with my mom. My mom was never shy with letting us know when she wasn't doing okay mentally. Growing up, my parents were very loving, very I guess close to each other, but my mom had a lot of inner demons or battles with herself because of her losing her parents really early on in life, and then being the youngest of 15 kids, so seeing how the rest of her siblings were with her. Yeah.
15?
And then coming to
I'm sorry, that's that caught me off guard. 15?
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, they don't make them like that anymore, right? Or not a lot. Oh my goodness, wait, so you have tons of uncles and aunts and stuff. How is that?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm so interested. Is that a lot of gifts then?
My mom is very not estranged from our family, but she's very to herself. Okay. So and when we were younger, sure, tons of gifts, I guess. Right. Christmas, Thanksgiving were a big holiday tradition. But now that we're older, not too much, but I have so many cousins that are my oldest cousin I think is my mom's age.
Okay. Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then my I guess the youngest cousin would be us now, me and my siblings and stuff, or we're in our 20s, late teens, early 20s, mid 20s.
Okay, perfect. That's shoot. I've always wanted a big family with 15 kids. I'm sorry. I need to be at least in this day and age, you need to be super wealthy in order to be able to, oh my God. But great for you, at least every family party seems, if you are on good terms with certain people, it seems like a lot, right? It's fun stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. As a kid, the family functions were, they were good.
Yeah. I was going to say, I feel at least with you get along with all your cousins, I'm hoping, right?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. There's no animosity between any of us. It's just they're so far all the time, and everyone has their own lives that we don't really see each other. But it's always nice when we do see each other and catch up.
I love that. That's okay. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Sorry, guys. I'm sure everybody was listening right now heard 15 and was like, "Hold on, we got to figure this out." But. And I feel that's a great setup for my next question, though, because what you said with your mom being super upfront about, her mental health and her demons and her battles, right? Has she ever spoken about maybe other members of her family or her other siblings going through things she was going through? Or was she the only one that was pretty much open about these things? Because I can only imagine 14 siblings, right? And one of them has got to relate if you're going through something.
My aunts and uncles were always very open to hearing us kids or hearing each other's stories of the struggles they're going through, but there's never really been like a sit down and a conversation where they talk about all the trauma that they went through as kids. Especially because when they came to the United States, there was a lot of, so they came through Coyote, which is like, when someone brings them.
Okay.
And so, walking the path that they came with, seeing people be left behind, or people that didn't continue. So that within itself is super stressful. But as the years have gone by, more recently, my oldest uncle, he passed away. So now they're down to 8 siblings from the original. 8 of them left. And I think more recently, like, the family has gotten together to grieve him, because he was sort of like the monarch of our family. And so that's where I can see that they're kind of talking about like the trauma that they went through as kids, but also reminiscing about the good times. As well, talking about the things that they're going through emotionally and mentally.
Okay. That's, I think that's great that this kind of family, is very supportive, and, it's definitely something that's missing from a lot of our experiences, right? And, I think it's very important to kind of address that, because a lot of people, when they think that somebody is going through, traumatic experiences, or like, like anxiety disorders or anything like that, and even with my episodes, right? Like, because I largely derive it from my own experiences, it's because of, for at least for me, right? Like my abandonment in my family. But a lot of people like to, kind of relate it to that, right? And I think this is why, I was excited when you agreed to do this, and now hearing about this, because for everybody who's listening right now, this is going to cap out this whole segment of our I'm like saying I'm forgetting what I'm talking about. It's going to cap out the segment of the anxious attachment styles, and with Aaron agreeing to do this, would you mind telling us exactly what you, I don't want to say have, but what you're experiencing?
Yeah. So, within the past few years, like I mentioned to you before, I have issues with letting go of like relationships, that being partnerships or like friendships, even when they're no longer good for me, and even settling with like parasocial relationships where it's like one-sided, where I am like not devoted, but like I am so like in love with this person that I'm willing to have like bare minimum, which is very sad. Very sad. I can relate, so very sad. But I think the first step is understanding that that's not a healthy lifestyle. That relationships should go both ways. First of all, that's always friendships or any type of relationship that you have with anyone, that being a partner or, friends from school, friends that, your neighbors, stuff like that. Any type of relationship has to go both ways. And I think for a long time, it took me a while to understand that, because I was so scared of, oh, well, if I'm not friends with them anymore, I'm not going to know what's going to happen to them. And, and like kind of like spiral and like go into this whole like ideology that like my friend's gone, but it's not the end of the world if it didn't work out. My mentality nowadays, or like I tried to maintain this mentality, is that if it didn't work out, it was not meant to be. It wasn't in the cards, and it's not like it's the end of the world.
Right. But I do want to kind of say, like, and I do want to ask, having that kind of mentality, I think it's beautiful. I think it is so healthy. And I feel like for people with anxious attachment styles, like, it's something that we all want to adapt, right? But how does it feel when that does happen and you have to tell yourself that this isn't it for me?
For me personally, it feels like this super like tight feeling in my chest,
Right.
and I feel like I'm gonna vomit.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm gonna like cry at the same time, and it's like I have like a lump in my throat, and this is all happening simultaneously.
Right.
I have
Yes.
in my my chest is super tight, and I feel like I want to vomit and I want to cry, and I have all these like emotions, and it's like because of like the idea that this is coming to an end or like anything like that that's coming to an end, it's super painful to try to like I guess like process that. So I think for me, like my body goes into like this sort of like I guess like fight or flight type of mode where I start to like panic. But once I've realized that it's over, okay, then it's over, then it's fine. You know, and it's not like I'm better like immediately, because it's a few days to like a few weeks where like I start feeling a little bit better. It's like, okay, well, and I'm like, well, I mean,
I see, like, I want to ask because I'm not there. I'm going to be honest with you, right? When things end for me, and it's not even like, if I think about it, I've never actually ended anything in my life because I'm so afraid of letting go. That you're exactly. I'm just, but you know, and how did you get to that point? Like, what was it for you? What was the push? Because there's got to be something that made you feel like I am so done putting myself through this.
I think it was when I think it came down to when I wanted to seek partners, like actual partners.
Right.
Because, you know, nowadays, like hookup culture is like a very big thing.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I wanted to like be with someone who was like, yeah, you know, kind of like stringing me on, but all I wanted was like, you know, whatever. And it's like, it's more than that. I think it came down to like when I realized that this person is no longer like the idea that I have of them in my mind of like this relationship that isn't real.
Right.
It's never going to happen. And if I don't remove myself from the situation, I'm always going to be this person that they can come back to whenever they want, like a quickie. And it's like, no, you know, you have to give yourself that value where like your time is worth it. Like you are worth the time and the commitment. So when it came to like relieving myself of those relationships with, you know, potential partners or like friends, it always came back to that I'm worth more. That I know that I'm worth more, and that it's time for me to move on from this person, because although I would want them to grow with me and walk with me in like life, either as friends or whatever, they don't want to, which is perfectly fine. They don't have to. And so it's time for me to move on. And I think when it came to that conclusion, I let go of some friends that I had been holding on to for so long.
Right.
I'd been told by like mutuals of mine or like friends in real life that they weren't necessarily good friends, or that this relationship with this person was never going to lead anywhere, and vice versa. Because when you're stuck in that mindset where you like hold on because you're scared of letting go because of the idea that that person isn't going to be there anymore, like terrifies you.
Right.
It's hard, right? But once you get to that point, you feel like that stress, like that weight on your chest, it like slowly starts to come off.
Right.
And when you don't feel that weight on your chest, it feels nice because it gives you space to be able to have healthy relationships with people. And this is all just based off of myself analyzing stuff that I wanted to do on my own because I wanted to better myself. I never went to therapy, which I should have gone to therapy.
You're kidding me. You got all this from will and like your inner strength.
Hard. It was a few years. I've been dealing with this since I was like 16. I'm 24 now.
Oh my
God. And it, like, you know, like a lot of things contribute to anxiety and like really latching onto the relationships that you have, especially when you're part of the queer community.
Right.
So when I came out, I'm the oldest son of like, there's 4 of us in my household. I'm the oldest son, and when I came out, it was like super, super bad, right?
When did you come out? Like, how old were you?
I came out to my mom when I was like 17.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay.
When my dad, I was like 20. I waited a few.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
Oh.
I waited a few years, and because he was like, "When are you gonna have a girlfriend?" And whoa, and I'm like,
no.
Crazy is that I am gay. So, and so when I came out to them, like, hey, like, I'm not into girls. Like, I am gay. Like, I don't like women. So sorry to tell you, but this is who I am, and like, I respect, you everything. And so it took them a while to come around, but they came around to the idea.
What was the reaction like?
My dad didn't talk to me for a week.
A week, okay. I mean, that's kind of good.
Yeah. I mean, it's way better than other people for sure, because people go years, like their whole life, without speaking to their parents again.
I will never understand that.
Mm-hmm. So it's a week, and then my mom, like, I told her when she was like falling asleep, and then she was like, "I'll talk to you in the morning," and then we talked about it. And yeah, it's been a few years now. And what doesn't help too is that I'm very feminine passing. Right. So like, obviously, like my pictures and stuff, I look very feminine. Like I look very femme.
Right.
And even in person, when I meet people, they're always like, "Oh, she, her," but it's like no. But it happens so much now that it's like I don't really like.
It's
care.
Not gonna correct them kind of deal, right? I'm like, whatever.
Whatever. I'm like, I know my truth. I'm not going to sit here and correct you.
But you do identify, and you do use he, him, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So, that also like put like a strain on like the relationships that I had with people, because I when I came out, I wanted people to still like me as me.
Right.
And I even like talked about this in my senior thesis when I graduated from college. Right. Sorry, there's a car.
Oh, you're good. No, don't worry. Guys, this is Breaking Down the Breakdown, okay? I don't care where the fuck you are. I will find you and make you get on my podcast. So, this is how real this shit is. But yeah, go on. So then your thesis.
No, so, in my senior thesis, I talked about how the queer identity is, you're you first before you're like gay. You're yourself, right? So... And like some people obviously don't agree that it's like, well, your queer identity is a part of you. Yes, I'm not taking away from that. Mm-hmm. Your queer identity is part of who you are. That being, if it manifests itself physically, right? If you, if you identify as a man but you're very feminine passing, if you identify as a woman but you're very masculine passing, or if you're just a masculine man but you're gay, if you're a feminine woman but gay, or however it identify, or however it is that you portray yourself, or I guess like your gay identity shows itself, I'm not taking away from that.
Right.
In my paper, I wrote about that. A lot of people feel this weight that because you use this identity, there's a weight on your shoulder, and you kind of have to like carry that weight with you. Which is, and to some part, it is true, and that causes a lot of anxiety when it comes to forming new friendships or relationships with people. You want, if you're searching for someone or looking for something, you want them to like you, or you want them to be with you.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. So I think for me, because I'm very feminine passing and identify as gay, at least like in the relationship aspects, it's been very hard for me to hold partners because I don't want them to see me as, something that I'm not.
For sure.
Or they want to like feed into their illusions when I'm not telling them that's what that is. And so I think it's a lot of like self-infliction where like I feel that I'm not what they want, but because they think I am, I'm gonna allow them to keep thinking that as long as I can stay, which is totally not okay.
And you see, I'm glad you brought this point up because, and it's not even just, obviously, like for you, this is that defining moment of your anxious attachments, right? But for everybody else out there who's listening right now, like I want you guys to kind of sit. I know you're probably sitting there, you're like, wait a minute, we feel weirdly affected by this, even if I don't identify as, an LGBT person? Because it's such a universal experience to feel the way that Aaron felt. And it doesn't have to be just with your gender identities. It's your identity, period. It's how you feel about yourself. And I feel like for a lot of people with anxious attachment styles, that is where it came from. It's about feeling like you're not good enough for who you are to be taken by anybody. And just to go back to you and your point, did this entire, I don't want to say episode, because I know that, like, for somebody dealing with, because do you have an anxiety disorder?
I'm getting counseling for my anxiety disorder now.
Okay. Hey, it's never too late, right? That's the thing.
Yeah, it's never too late to seek counseling. Or if counseling doesn't work, there's medication that you can take, as long as you talk to whatever works best for you.
Perfect.
Right. I'm starting to take counseling for my anxiety because I still have anxiety, and I'm talking about anxiety for everything. Like, if I didn't do something at work or something went wrong, I get super anxious, and I'm like, oh my god. But then it's like, it's not.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, no, that is not fun.
No. Horrible. Like, I'm very social, but my anxiety is always like creeping back.
Oh yeah, no, that's the worst feeling.
But I feel like it also helps with, like, because I'm very social. I'm a very social person. Yeah. My sister hates that. She's like, you're so social with everyone. Like, you can become friends with anyone. I'm like, I think it's easy to talk to people and just, like, relate to them, or find common grounds with people when they're your people, like, in your community, or like people that you want to get to know.
Right.
So it's always nice to, like, find people that you can talk to or conversate with. And I think that that's how I help. Like, I work on my anxieties. That I'm very friendly, which is I think how I work on one with my anxiety, which is also why I work with kids, because working with kids is a very anxious and stressful job.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for somebody who's dealing with what you're dealing with, how do you manage to do that? And I think this is going to be a great question, because we have a lot of parents who listen in these conversations as well. And I know of a few who are going through, like, anxiety disorders. And I've had a few friends before where, it was their first time having a kid, and they're so afraid. Right.
Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with that? Yeah.
I think what, for me, because I work with kids that are on the spectrum, I know that I have to be 100% there for them, right? And if I have to be there 100% for them, I have to find help for myself. That way, I am 100% learn, like, getting there where I feel like I'm capable to work and, like, to help them and benefit them.
Right.
So, counseling is one of them. Talking to people, just finding the things that help you de-stress and just help you, like, smell the roses,
Yeah.
Go out on a walk, what I like to do, I like to drive. I commute for work an hour, but when I mean I like to drive to, because I live in California, I live in Los Angeles, I'll drive to, like, the coastline, to the beach. And I'll lower my windows down, and I'll let the water, yeah. So I'll drive to the beaches, and, like, I'll, like, roll my windows down and let the ocean waves, like, the sound of it, or I'll walk on, like, the boardwalk that's there, or, like, different boardwalks. I'll go to, like, viewpoints in Los Angeles and just, like, sit down and look at the lights and just really be alone with yourself and your thoughts. And I know that could be kind of scary, but, like, being alone with your thoughts help you organize yourself. It helps you recollect yourself.
That's true.
And I think that's what I do a lot of the time when I feel that I'm at my boiling point where I need a break. So I'll, drive around. I'll go to a store and just walk around, like, not necessarily, like, buy anything, but kind of just, walk around and, like, let your mind wander. Like, give yourself give yourself that moment to take a breather in. And it's like, okay, well, today was stressful, but
that's where mindfulness starts, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that they actually teach in therapy, because it's true. Like, the very first thing they teach you when you get into therapy, at least for people with anxiety disorders, is they teach you how to meditate. And it is actually the funniest thing ever because, you know, as somebody like I was coming off of like a really bad psychotic break. So there is no meditation. I'm sorry. I'm sitting there with my thoughts and all the intrusive thoughts are just hitting you from the get-go that you're like, I can't do this because I'm trying to breathe in and out and there's all these demons speaking to me. Right? So a lot of people don't realize that's what you have to do is you have to sit there and put yourself through that.
Because at the end of the day, it's your own mind.
Yes.
You know? And the mind is a very strong thing, but you have to try. And I know that's very like annoying to hear, like, yo, you have to try. You have to try. Yeah. If it's not, should always be for you first. But in cases where like you're a first time parent or where you have a job that requires you to like, you know, work around people that need your help, I think remembering that your purpose is, you have a purpose, right? And that you can't let these intrusive thoughts or like these negative emotions or feelings of anxiety like overwhelm you or take over it. You have to be able to find that inner peace within yourself. And I think it starts with like meditating and like listening to your thoughts and like understanding why you feel the way that you feel. Because if you don't understand why you feel the way that you feel, there's no way you're gonna get better.
Amen.
And sometimes you have to really like think about it, and like you'll have to like, you know, you'll think about the trauma that you've gone through, and then once you've been able to acknowledge said trauma, then you can move forward with like finding yourself and like helping yourself. But if not, then it won't work. And I'm telling you, it was super, super hard for me.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot of like damn, like I'm like be friends with this person anymore because you know, they don't serve like a positive purpose in my life, or like they're not even a good listener, you know. Or partners where it's like they don't want anything from me but like some fun, and it's like, okay, fun is fine, like that's fine, like I'm not against
not
that.
What you're looking for, right? It's not
but,
what you
but if in the moment where like I'm looking for that and like that's all they want and they've promised other things and they continue, then it's like, no, like you have to, for your own sake, you have to let go.
Ooh, oh my goodness. Honestly, this is like, it's very interesting because I obviously like I brought you onto here because I wanted to really do a dive on how others with anxious attachments deal with it, right? And I just love that you're able to bring this kind of perspective because this entire time, it's so funny. I have these things in my head where I'm kind of like, okay, well, are my guests going to freak out about X, Y, and Z and explain this and that and this and that? And you're sitting there and you are like, it sounds like you've been to therapy your entire life. So when you were like, I don't go to therapy, I was like, fuck you. Are you kidding me? Like, good for you. But no, honestly, like the insight that you've brought and you've given us, like, I really appreciate that. And I thank you so much because I think this is what everybody out there needs to hear right now. And to see it from your perspective, somebody who is dealing with it, still dealing with it, but you're clearly kind of like through that rough patch that a lot of us are kind of stuck on. And I just want to say thank you for being able to share how you were able to get through that. And it's a very interesting thing because a lot of people, they want to use others as motivators for their things, others as motivators for their own lives. And for the first time, to hear someone say, this does not serve me any purpose, that is, I feel like, one of the most powerful things that I've heard of in the past 2 years. And I just want to say thank you because everybody who's listening right now, who, you know, is going through this turmoil within them, I think now you guys understand that the answer is by putting yourself first. As difficult as that is, but it's doable. Just look at Aaron over here. Like, it is so fucking doable. We want to get to where you are.
It's doable. It'll take some time, and it's a lot of trial and error. I'm not going to sit here and tell you easy. It's not. But I'm telling you, once you find the way that you can apply yourself, and it's always different for everyone.
Right.
Once you figure what works for you, it's not smooth sailing, but it is better than before. And I think the purpose of figuring out how to deal with these attachment issues is to figure out what works best for you in order to either let go or improve those relationships, or if they're able to improve as well. Not that all relationships are able to improve. Sometimes it's just better for you to cut those people or cut those relationships out of your life if they no longer help you, right? So it's always about finding what works best for you. And sometimes the hard reality is that some people don't belong in your life because they don't, positively affect your life.
Yeah.
And once that happens, it's kind of, what you need in your life, and this person is not what you need. And if you're in that situation where you feel that you're the only person that can help yourself, from removing that person from your life, because unless you actually need help from other people, then but if you're in the position where you can remove said individual from your life, that being partner or friend, because they no longer positively affect you in the way that you want them to, I think you should do it. I think it'll benefit you in the long run, especially if a lot of people are dealing with this issue now. And mental health wasn't a big thing like
no,
8 years
definitely not. Yeah,
8-9 years ago. I remember being a kid, and like whoever was depressed, they just thought they were crazy,
right?
But yeah, and it's like, no, you're not crazy, you just need a little help with figuring out how to deal with said emotions.
Yes.
And that's not crazy, that's normal thing about life. Like, life is super complicated, and the relationships that we form with people, that being a two-way relationship, a parasocial relationship, which is super bad.
Yep.
or just like hookup culture in general, like the things like that, they're very, very complicated. And a lot of people take, I guess, comfort in that, but you shouldn't. You should find healthy relationships that will benefit you, that also bring comfort. I know that like with like social media and stuff, like parasocial relationships is a really big thing with like famous people, especially like K-pop idols and stuff.
No, for sure.
Which is fine, because some people use that to like cope to a certain extent.
It's like a healthy distraction for some, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like me personally, like I love like listening to K-pop and stuff, and I love my groups, and I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I'm not a stan. I am.
Right. Okay. Hey.
Finding hobbies too is a very important thing for people. It doesn't have to be K-pop.
Right.
Okay. Hobbies can be, you go on a run, you play a sport, you go to the animal shelter, and you donate your time there. You go to like old folks home, and you like hang out with old people. I know that there's people that do that. When you find something that helps you take your mind off of the things that stress you out in your life, find a hobby. It helps. And I didn't think that was a thing, but when I started like working on myself, I was like, what is a hobby that I liked before, but I never really like continued, which was like listening to K-pop. And I'm really in debt, but I am like, but it does help with like, I guess like distracting myself when I do need it, and like the serotonin that I get from like just like watching music videos. I'm not gonna tell you that I understand like what most of the lyrics are saying, but I'll put the English one. I'll read it, just like the rhythm and like the colors and stuff.
I feel you. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Find those things that like positively influence you in life, like playing basketball. Like, okay, like you love like the rush of like about a shoot, whatever. I'm not a basketball player. Or playing volleyball, or like running, or like riding your bike, or taking your dog on a walk, or
right.
People get dogs, as comfort pets. You can do that too if you're up for it.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, right? I think the point is the possibilities are endless for someone. If you do want to get better, you have all of this avenue. You have all of this, like everything in the world that the world can offer, you can actually take advantage of, but you have to want it. You have to get out of that mindset. Like that is, see, like sometimes we just forget, right? And honestly, this is not us shaming us for forgetting that oh wow, we are in charge of this, right? We do forget.
No,
times,
right? Never feel ashamed.
Exactly.
No one should of having those moments where you've lost control. That being a small moment, or it's been a long time since you've had control of yourself.
Yeah.
Never feel, because no one is the same. And if it's happened where you are not in control in your life, that's okay, because you can always get control back in your life. You can always deal with the way that you want to deal with these emotions, or with your anxiety, or with these like anxious relationships that you have with people. That a relationship shouldn't make you anxious.
Yeah,
that's
there it is.
Bottom line of like, I think this conversation at the end of it, it's like a relationship should not make you anxious. And if a relationship is making you anxious, find out why.
Right.
Now, why said relationship makes you anxious can help you deal with how to, I guess, like how to like work on it.
Right.
And I think that's what I did. And I don't know like if other people have done it or in the process of doing that, but I think that's like what works best. Figure out why that relationship that you're anxious about makes you anxious. If there's a way for you to, talk to that person, or like talk to yourself on how to see like what to do next.
Yeah.
If you can save the shit, cool. If you can't,
then
because it no longer like serves their purpose, that's okay too. The next step is to remove yourself from that situation.
Exactly.
And I think it's a little bit hard for some people, but ultimately it is the best course of action if you want to get better. And unless some people say, I do want to, but it's hard. Totally get it. You don't have to like cold turkey cut someone out of your life.
Right. You can just, it's a gradual thing, right? Let's, again,
for
it's where everything falls into place, where you start getting a hobby, you start doing this, you start doing that, because you start to fall in love with every single thing that you're doing for yourself. That the people that makes you feel like you're not deserving of any of this love will slowly be fading into the background. And I think this is how it happens, which is, I love this. Honestly, unfortunately, we are running out of time, but we just touched up on so many great things. I just want to say thank you so much for getting on the podcast and talking to us about this, because again, like what I said, right? We were so focused on the negatives of being somebody who has an anxious attachment style, and it's bleeding into everything else in our lives. And to have this fresh take on it, to realize that this is actually almost just like any other problem in our lives, and you deal with it by being yourself and loving yourself. I think, again, super powerful weapon. Thank you. Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
I think my best piece of advice for anyone and everyone that listens is that, again, find that thing that works best for you. Find your comfort thing, that being a place, that being a movie, a song, an activity, or that person. Find someone that positively affects your life. Find the positive things in life. And figure out why those relationships that make you anxious. Once you've answered those questions for yourself, it's going to get better. I promise you. It might feel like it's not, but I promise you it's going to get better.
Oh, that was so sweet. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Aaron on the line here. Do you want to like promote your socials or whatever? Because I don't even know if you're like actually have socials and stuff.
I have socials. Yeah, I have my Instagram. I'm not really like a big social like media like person. I would like to be, but I'm not really like. I guess like I don't have like anything that I do specifically. Okay. But.
Or if you want to connect, just what is it? Tell us. Where can we find you on Instagram?
On my Instagram is a.a with 3 R's, O-N-N. So my name, Aaron.
Okay, Aaron. But specialized Aaron. I love that. Don't worry, guys. I will include that in the episode description so you guys can find Aaron if you have any more questions about how the fuck Aaron is able to deal with this shit.
I'm always open to mess.
I love it. Guys, this has been Breaking Down the Breakdown. Thank you so much for listening. I love you all. Remember, guys, always be kind. Always, always, always be compassionate, because you don't know what the other person is going through whenever you're finding yourselves ready to box a bitch. Honestly, we can just take a step back and realize, hey, maybe we should show some love first, because we don't know what's going on out there in the world. Thank you so much. I will see you guys soon. Take care. Bye.